I'm noticing a trend in these story-driven games. They don't let the player play. They tell the player, hey, this is our story, and we'd really appreciate it if you play it the way we want you to play it. Which isn't inherently a problem, even some of my favorite games do it. What really frustrates me is that they further cement the idea that stories can only exist on the screen. We've been taught this from books, movies, and television, so it only makes sense for us to have that way of thinking when we talk about games. But gaming has the unique opportunity to put the player inside of scenarios so they can create their own stories. The rise of streaming and no-clip success on Patreon show that gamers want these stories, the ones that aren't just on the screen. The places that these experiences are mostly cultivated are in multiplayer games. Yeah, Overwatch has that beautiful Bastion short, but that's not why we love that game. We love it because of the stories of our favorite plays, and Blizzard knows that. That's why they gave us a play of the game highlight at the end of every single game. It's also why each game is meticulously designed to end at the last minute. It simply makes for a better story, balance be damned. I think these experiences are where Nintendo pulled inspiration from for The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. You see, Blizzard just gives the players a handful of maps and tells them to figure it out. You can shove through a choke point with Reinhardt or just fly over the point entirely. The choice is up to you. Breath of the Wild does the same thing. Here's the world, here's the tools, we need you to figure out a way to stop Ganon. Go. By treating the fight against Ganon like any other PvP encounter, Nintendo gets away with the game's weirdest design decision. As the game progresses, you get more powerful, but the challenges don't get any tougher. With any other game, this would be a cardinal sin. You typically want to apply pressure onto the player so they can be challenged as the game progresses. If there's an item in the game that cheeses through most of the game's mechanics, that's a big problem. Does anyone remember the shot gloves from Batman? Breath of the Wild doesn't care about that at all, and personally, I found that knowingly cheesing through these challenges was really rewarding. Just like getting a pentakill after being fed in a game of League of Legends always leaves me busting in laughter. Who am I kidding? I never get a pentakill. Speaking of League specifically, those are pretty long games, and there's almost always a point where you know the outcome of every match, but you kind of just have to sit there and wait for the Nexus to get destroyed. Except here, Ganon can't surrender. I think this is why a lot of people felt a little underwhelmed by the game's final boss fight. Once you make that decision to storm Ganon's castle, you already know that you're gonna win, so at that point, it feels like a chore. In fact, Zelda's freedom doesn't really allow any of the big climactic moments to pay off. If you're writing a story that leads up to one of these awesome moments, you need to sow the seeds of that payoff earlier in your story. If Zelda wanted to create something similar, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of players would miss those little bits of foreshadowing. Again, Zelda tosses all of that out and tries to create little moments of victory within each scenario, mostly through their puzzles. But I couldn't help but feel like the Master Sword left a bit to be desired, or even that horseback fight at the end of the game. I hardly ever rode a horse in Zelda. I didn't want to deal with the hassle of sneaking up to one, and I didn't let myself get used to the combat either, and I definitely didn't stable one. So when there was this magically friendly horse next to me, I couldn't help but feel a bit cheapened. It probably would have been a better moment if I had this ride or die companion that I had trained up through the game. I don't even know if you can train horses. Maybe there's a way to get players like me to take care of that horse, but there's a pretty strong chance that implementing something like that would take away from the freedom that the game strives for. I know that it probably sounds like I've spent 2/3 of this video trashing Breath of the Wild, so I want to stress that I absolutely adore this game. It's something fresh, and Nintendo has helped prove to me that we don't have to treat everything like a movie to innovate in gaming. I'm still gonna pull film references when I make future videos, but Breath of the Wild has shown me that I shouldn't be so hasty when I dig into that bag. The Little Things is powered by you all on Patreon. My goal is to create a platform that hinges on community interaction, which is why all of the goals on Patreon have a collaborative aspect to the show. Not only are you funding the show, you're literally helping create it. You can click the video in the corner if you want to learn more about the future of this channel. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. New episodes come out every Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe to keep up with the latest videos. Follow me on Twitter. My name is Tyler Gesselman, and as always, it's been a pleasure.